get us started. I'm glad you're here today. My name is Kim Lutz. I'm the Executive Director for America's Watershed Initiative. If you're not familiar with us, we are a nonprofit group working across the entire Mississippi River Basin, from the Appalachians to the Rockies, the Northwoods to the Gulf Coast. And we focus on two things: science to inform decision-making and collaborations for on-the-ground action. And this series was started earlier this year in an effort to highlight some of the great science that's being done in the basin. So with that, I'm delighted that we have today Ryan Heiniger, who is the Executive Director of the Conservation Technology Information Center, CTIC. CTIC is a nonprofit working in conservation agriculture practices and technology adoption. And in addition to Ryan's role with CTIC, he has nearly 30 years of experience amongst other places: the Farm Journal, Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever. And he is also a farmer himself on a farm in southeastern Ohio, farming corn and soybeans, and where he's implemented a range of conservation practices. He also holds a bachelor's degree in wildlife biology from Iowa State University. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and we're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Kim. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to spending a few minutes providing an update on the activities here at CTIC. Hopefully most of your audience is familiar with our organization, one of the oldest public-private membership organizations working at the intersection of ag and sustainability. We'd like to think about our three main pillars here that I've highlighted, and I want to put in a quick shameless plug for our 19th annual Conservation in Action Tour. That's one of the things that we're pretty well known for. This tour gathers C-suite leaders to farmers, agronomists, other agribusiness leaders, for a couple of days of course, networking, sharing ideas, inspiring one another, and of course, getting on farm and hearing from producers themselves. We're going to North Carolina in 2026, and we'll be there in Raleigh as our host city. Many of you probably know CTIC, going back 4+ decades, originally founded as the Conservation Tillage Information Center with a specific focus on helping farmers and the larger industry adopt some of the practices and technologies that were coming online back then, just to reduce soil erosion and be that central clearinghouse of information, of data, of all kinds of information to be able to help scale. And about 4 or 5 years in, as conservation was, of course, rapidly evolving at the time, the board made the decision to move from conservation tillage to conservation technology. But soil erosion, soil health has been at the key of what we've done for now 43 years and counting. Like Kim said, I'm also a 4th-generation farmer here in Southeast Iowa, literally just yards away from the Mississippi River, north of Burlington. And some of you may recognize Burlington, Iowa also as the birthplace of Aldo Leopold. So come see us sometime if you're ever traveling across I-80 just south of the Quad Cities, about an hour, and raising the 5th generation as the next owners of the farm, and trying to instill that sense of conservation and land ethic, as Mr. Aldo Leopold did so well many years ago. Daily here at CTIC, I'm reminded about people that have contributed their leadership, their ideas, their sweat equity to advancing the goals and mission of the organization. And also want to recognize our current board of directors, led by Adam Herges from the Mosaic Company. And again, we've been at this for 43 years, and originally started as a special project within the National Association of Conservation Districts. So a long tie to locally led conservation, working with those districts, SCS, and of course now NRCS. Like any nonprofit, you're only as strong and as robust as your members and supporters. So also want to just quickly recognize our our members, many of whom have been with us for years and decades. We also just recently wrapped up a membership campaign and had 10 new members join us this past year. And of course, we work with a lot of different companies, other coalitions, other partnerships, universities, to do both on the ground as well as data collection type of projects. So again, wanting to recognize and thank each and every one of those organizations for their contributions to CTIC. I'm not going to go into great detail here because I really want to emphasize one of our most recent projects that we just launched about 6 weeks ago called the Conservation Connector, but also wanting just to provide a brief overview of some of our work. The Cropland Residue Management Project, CRM, was one of the very first endeavors, and that evolved over time to Optus, which is satellite-based data developed in conjunction with the Nature Conservancy, Regrow, Ag, and other partners to bring both conservation tillage and cover crop coverage at the Huck 8 and crop reporting district scale level. So you can go to our website and look at that information between 2015 and 2021. We're also pretty well known for our nearly annual National Cover Crop Survey Report with SARE, along with ASTA and other partners. And then more recently, in my tenure, we've been the farmer-facing advisor for the Farmers for Soil Health project, originally started as a climate-smart commodity project, now turned into an AMP project. We're leading that effort in South Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and we've got a great team that works with farmers day in and day out, along with some cover crop coaching farmer mentors that we've enlisted their help and expertise as well. So just to also then conclude with this overview about our cover crop survey report. All these 7 or 8 reports are available on our website for free download. Historically, they've always focused on farmer attitudes and information. This past year, with the partnership team, we pivoted to focus on advisors. So some really neat insights on, of course, the role and contributions that advisors, again, whether that's CCAs, local soil and water and NRCS staff, extension personnel, seed dealers, and the like. All that information is available on our website. So with that background, happy to just quickly cover our Conservation Connector. This has been a project several years in the making that, like I mentioned, we were very excited to finally launch at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, in late August. And we, of course, get asked, well, what solution, what are you trying to accomplish with the connector? And of course, this is one of those mixed blessings, let's call it. Today, there's so many different cost share, incentives, rebates, discounts, credit programs, along with all kinds of both public sector and private sector resources. And even for those of us that wake up daily in this space, it's a little overwhelming. Of course, the acronym soup has gotten even more complex in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And so what we're trying to do is provide this one-stop shop for both farmers and advisors to be able to quickly find information about programs, about cost share that's available in their specific area. And so, of course, my own mailbox here on the farm sometimes looks like that with different conservation programs, different incentives. So you can imagine for a producer, a farmer, rancher that is not thinking about conservation day in and day out, how overwhelming it must be to try to sort through and find what is the right fit for their operation with where they're at on their own unique conservation journey. The Nature Conservancy has been a core part of this project from the beginning. I won't read Life's quote there, along with Houston Engineering, which actually had the original idea to have this central clearinghouse, this central database of information on both financial and technical resources available. And to our knowledge, this is the only platform with both of these integrated into one location, one searchable engine. So you can find this in real time now at connector.ag, and I would encourage folks to check it out when time permits. We've also worked with Wolfnick Center and the Open Team Project to give a shout out to Dorn Cox and his great team over there in Maine. So like I mentioned, we launched this at the Farm Progress Show. This is launched initially as a web app. There's currently 400 plus programs and service providers. And of course, this number changes as more people become aware. You can create a free account to make a listing, probably be up and running from start to finish in less than an hour, in all likelihood, unless it's a really complex offering that you have. 30 minutes is probably all that is needed to create an account and get your program listed. So hopefully it's driving additional producers to find your resources, find your expertise, find your support. And of course, it is not behind any kind of paywall, or it is not, no account is needed to just peruse the information and find what resources are available in your area. In addition to the core team I mentioned, we also were fortunate to receive great advice and counsel for the 18 months of initial programming. Again, I won't read through the names here, but in the interest of time, the goal of the advisory committee was really to help shape this, help bring different perspectives from across the ag retail, federal, NRCS perspective, the ag lending world, represented by Mariah Johnson from Farm Credit Services of America and others. So they really played an instrumental role in helping guide the development of this as well. So it is live and searchable right now, as I've mentioned. We did initially start this work in March of 2024. We did an initial unveiling to the industry and our community back in November of 2024 at the Sustainable Ag Summit in Minneapolis, and then launched at the Farm Progress Show. And again, there's more than 400 different programs and service providers. This map is probably a little outdated, but kind of gives you a sense with a strong focus in the Mississippi River watershed, as you could tell, but it is intended to be a national level database and search engine as well. So not wanting to let technology possibly throw a wrench into things. So these are just some screen captures of what the database app looks like right now. And so, of course, as Kim mentioned, I'm here in Iowa, so I'm going to use a couple of Iowa examples on both programs as well as service providers. And this gives you a little bit of a snapshot of the different forms of assistance. As one example, you can search by state, by county, multiple counties. You do not have to search by commodity or conservation practice or financial incentive, but it is meant to allow folks to drill as deep as they would like to get to find resources in their area. So again, using Iowa, and of course, with harvest upon us, as well as cover crop season, heavily underway. In fact, I was in the tractor cab last night late, trying to get some rye established on our farm here before winter sets in a month or two. And so if you search for cover crop support, you would find 28 different listings. And the way that we've constructed this is that to incentivize people to make sure that their programs and listings are as up to date, the order in which they appear is based on, as you can see on the right-hand side here, the programs that have been added most recently and or refreshed most recently. So this Working Lands RCPP was one of the most recent listings for the state of Iowa, along with 27 other ones. And our goal here is not to, of course, replace what organizations and partnerships put on their own websites, but provide kind of a snapshot with a goal of having the information be actionable, but not overwhelming to producers. So you'll find good summary information, both kind of in a drop-down menu fashion, as well as a narrative to allow folks to list with as much detail as they would like about everything ranging from the funding source to the eligibility to the payment rates. And of course, ultimately wanting to connect the producers to the local boots on the ground that can help make farm visits and better understand how that program may be able to assist them. And as we all know, right, that when you are fortunate to receive cost share support, sometimes you don't have the time, the knowledge or expertise. You might not have the equipment to actually then go implement the practice or suite of practices that you're wanting to adopt on your respective farm or ranch. And so now what? That is really the beauty in this configuration of having both the programs as well as the service providers provide their listing. So again, whether you're with a federal agency, whether you're with local extension, another nonprofit, this is all available. And we encourage you to create an account and make a listing. So again, more producers, especially those not adopting practices currently, can find you as we continue to roll this out and raise awareness within the agriculture community. So this is giving you a snapshot of the different service providers that are listed that range from wildlife habitat, wetlands and pollinator to nutrient management and cover crop seed and about everything in between. So sticking with this theme of wanting to get cover crop cost share, and now that I've been approved for some cost share, now it's time to actually put some seed in the ground. So again, searching by Iowa, there's some 40 different providers that could provide seed and or planting services. Then, of course, I can also check on the map to see who is most local to my area in the event that, I'm short of time and I need to be able to just run to the neighboring town, for example, and find seed without having to wait for delays, because, of course, this time of year, time is of the essence. So that was a lot of information just to kind of wrap things up and, of course, leave time for some Q&A here. We're going to continue doing webinars. Happy to visit with you offline. My information was there on one of the top slides, and do custom sessions with your company, with your organization or your teams to see how this could be of particular interest to you all. We are continuing to fundraise for our phase 2 with additional UI UX components, as well as a very comprehensive and a national level marketing campaign to drive awareness that this effort exists. And in terms of how you can further get involved, check the connector, see if your program is currently listed, and of course, make sure it is up to date. If it's not, create an account, be up and running in 30 to 60 minutes, and then give us your feedback. I really want to stress this component. We're very excited about the current version, but we've already collected lots and lots of different ideas for the future. So keep the ideas coming. Tell us how this can be most effective to driving additional conservation adoption, whether that's in the Mississippi River watershed or wherever you may live and work. So with that, I will conclude my formal remarks and look forward to having some dialogue here. Thanks again, Kim.
Great. Thanks so much, Ryan. And if you have questions for Ryan, if you go to the bottom of the screen, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this at the beginning, there's a box that says Q&A. If you can type your questions in there, we'll get to as many questions as we can. So we already have one. So the question is, how are provider services and contacts kept up to date?
Excellent question. Thank you so much. So one way I'll answer that is think of this as the Facebook marketplace for conservation agriculture. So our goal is to create the framework, create the repository for all this information, but the responsibility for keeping it up to date does lie within whomever has the account and listing. And so we haven't instituted this yet, but we've discussed as a partnership team that probably every quarter, if folks have not gone in to do a refresh, and of course make sure their staff contacts are still up to speed, their upcoming application deadline period is still relevant, that will bring that account listing offline. We'll still have it on the file, but you won't be viewable to producers. So again, we want to ensure that farmers receive timely information, accurate information, and that ultimate responsibility does fall within the company or partnership or institution that has created the listing. But wonderful question.
All right, next question. Does your organization collect information on how many acres and or farmers have adopted some type of conservation technique? And if so, can you speak a little more about that?
Not through this mechanism, through the Optus project that I mentioned, the Operational Tillage Information System. That's also available on our website. It does track the adoption of reduced or conservation tillage along with cover crops, now at the lower 48 state scale. So that's one mechanism. And then our cover crop survey report does get, kind of an index or a barometer. We don't go back and survey the same farmers every year as part of that. So we've historically captured some of that information, but in terms of the connector directly, our main goal is to, again, provide that transparency, provide that ability for folks to cost share compare in a way, and then drive traffic to your respective websites and program enrollment platforms.
Great. You touched on this in the first question, but I'm curious kind of what your goal is. You talked about a marketing plan. So what would be your end goal? Well, maybe not an end goal, an interim goal of how you will market this to get the numbers up of people, I guess, using it. It looks like you've got a lot of information that people can access, but what's the use model look like by the farmers themselves?
Yeah, so we've had a great response ever since the Farm Progress rollout. And of course, for a lot of the country, harvest season was either underway or getting close to that time of year. Prior to the federal freeze that ultimately did result in some loss of grant funds for us last February, we had hired a consultant, a firm by the name of Blank Page, that developed a very comprehensive national marketing plan for us, both earned media, print media, digital assets as well. And so we have that plan ready to go. That's one of the reasons why we're actively fundraising for that. But in terms of the bigger part of your question, Kim, really is trying to make this synonymous for farmers looking for information, right? That they don't have to visit 20 different websites initially. They don't have to spend the time, perhaps, that they don't have, if we're being honest, to go to 4 or 5 different company offices, government offices, and try to track down what's available, what are the deadlines, what are the strings. But this is really providing that consolidated one-stop shop for information to make their next step in their conservation journey just a little bit easier.
Terrific. So can you give us a sense of what percentage of acres have some sort of conservation technique applied now and how that varies across, well, because we're talking about Mississippi River today, those states in general?
Excellent question. I do not have that data at my fingertips, and that's one of the other things going back to, I guess, the technologies that remote sensing offers. We do have the opportunities as an industry or as a community to more accurately and more up to date collect information, be able to publish information while not having to wait for the NAS surveys, for example, that of course only come out every 5 years. So we're actually in the process of putting together some partnership efforts to continue this work in the industry. So would love to talk about that offline. But in terms of specific levels of conservation adoption, I don't have that right at my fingertips, other than maybe I'll also say that using no-till, for example, going back to our original roots in the 80s, that saw significant adoption rates. But for the last 30 years or so, it's been fairly plateaued in the adoption of no-till. So there has been great progress made. But if you look at a number of different reports out there, it has been plateaued for quite a while now.
I'm just curious myself, and what do you sense the reason is for that?
I think in some areas where, let's say from the Missouri River West, for example, going back to maybe even the origins of the Dust Bowl, the new technologies, the new chemistries that came online allowed less mechanical disturbance of the soil across the Great Plains in particular. And so, large swaths of land were were adopted for less tillage or conservation tillage, but further east you go, trying to warm up the soil. If you're, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, for example, I hear that a lot from my farmer friends. The feeling that tillage is needed to create that better seed bed environment, to just deal with other invasive weed species, for example. So, any number of reasons, probably not a single reason in particular, but any number of reasons. And then success, people have found their own strategies to be successful, to be profitable. But the reality is that we should all keep in mind is that we are still losing soil, and whether it's at sustainable rates or not, to be determined, I guess. But by some accounts, across a lot of the corn and soybean range, some 5 tons per acre per year of topsoil is being lost still.
Goodness. The next questioner first says, great presentation, great product. So thank you for that. In your opinion, what other barriers to adoption of cover cropping aren't being addressed by your conservation connector product?
Repeat that. I want to make sure
In your
connecting
opinion,
a few dots.
Yeah, what other barriers to adoption of cover cropping are not going to be addressed by this conservation connector product?
Yeah, so let me come at that a couple different ways. First, the intent with the connector project is kind of the big tent for conservation enterprise. It is not specific to just cover crops. I just wanted to use that as one example because of, in part, the time of year. But again, whether it's wetland restorations, pollinator habitat, nutrient management, our goal is to make this multifaceted for both crop as well as the livestock industry and the associated conservation practices and technologies that are associated with farming and ranching. So, number one is just in terms of cover crop, I would say is the equipment can be a big barrier in part, and equipment and staff capacity, manpower to go with it, somewhat go hand in hand, because of course the window for planting cover crops only stays open for so long. And so, if you're a farmer of 1,500, 2,000 acres or more, you're not going to stop the combine to then go plant cover crops. And so how can custom seeding, or of course more recently in the last couple of years, as the number of drone equipment operators has really skyrocketed, how could that come into play and get those acres seeded even before the crop is fully mature and before the combines roll? But I would point to the availability of equipment. Thankfully, the seed industry at large has really rallied the last number of years, and I know at the beginning of the Partnership for Climate Smart Commodity ramp up, for example, there was even some concern of whether there was going to be sufficient seed, and I don't think that ever really turned in to be a bottleneck, so to speak. But time and equipment, I would say, are the two biggest barriers. So, whether you're a farmer that has a custom cover crop seeding enterprise, you can also create a listing and be known to farmers just in your immediate service area, as one example.
Right. Well, it looks like we just maybe have another half a minute. So for really quick, what do you find the primary motivator for farmers to deploy conservation efforts?
Ooh, that is, we need another hour for that one. But in 30 seconds, I keep coming back to, and all the farmer friends of mine and other folks I'm privileged to interact with and work with across the country, it seems like the presence of an aha moment, what I like to call the aha moment, and whether it was that very intense drought, whether it was that horrendous precipitation event, and they personally, witnessed soil moving and were motivated right then and there to do something different. tends to be one of the biggest drivers. And so I was just talking with some colleagues the other day about the principles of soil health, and I added a bit of a preamble to the 5 that are commonly known, and that is that you have to have a desire, an innate desire to see something different, to do something different. And oftentimes, I've found that comes with that aha moment.
Terrific. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. For those of you listening, thank you so much for joining us. This recording will be up on our website typically in a couple days. Feel free to share it and feel free to be in touch with Ryan as he spreads the word about this great product. So thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care all. Bye-bye.